Welcome back to the Frizz and the Grease podcast with your hosts, Trudeau and D.
Welcome back to the podcast. It's your host, Trudeau, and joined by the best co-hosts in town, D. Frizzy. Frizz, what's up, buddy?
What's good, baby? Best co-host in town. Definitely the best co-host in the world, man. It ain't just a town. We worldwide.
States. It's an exciting day. It's Tuesday, May 16th. It's also NBA Draft Lottery Day. Let's go.
Waiting for there we go.
I was looking for the button.
You're good.
I'm representing Orlando right now. It's my squad. Let me tell you this. You're a Lakers fan. You don't know the joy of Draft Lottery Day. This is my Super Bowl. This is my NBA Finals, baby. We're hoping the ping pong balls drop right. So I think we're going to do the show a little differently today. I appreciate you guys all watching live from all the platforms I see out there. Both of us have the Draft Lottery on right now live. We have a lot of basketball to talk about. We have some jaw stuff, conference finals stuff. But what we're going to do is as the lottery progresses live, we'll talk through it a little bit, especially when it gets down to the top four. Right now, they're just kind of putting people at the podiums. And we'll just kind of back off of that while they're setting up. Let me just start by asking you, D, how was your week, buddy?
Week was good, man. Obviously Tuesday through Sunday was pretty good. Sunday was an incredible day. Mother's Day, obviously. So for those that are listening that were able to take care of the missus, if you do have a little one, congratulations and happy late Mother's Day. For me, the goal was to, I don't want to say it too loud, but what's good? Can you hear me?
Yes, no, the draft lottery has just kicked off, actually.
It's going to go quick.
I will let you know if someone jumps ahead. Pelicans 14, Toronto 13, so nothing exciting yet. For me, Mother's Day, dude, super stressful. I'm not going to lie. You have to nail it, right? Especially when you have a wife and a child.
Mm-hmm.
OKC 12, so nothing exciting just yet. Nick Collison looks great, by the way. Shout out Nick Collison with the
I just thought Colin Sexton was there. He definitely doesn't want to be there. That's for damn
Absolutely
sure.
Not. Orlando Magic keeping the pick at 11 from Chicago. So Chicago did not move up. That's good for us, Orlando, because if Chicago moved to the top four, it's going back to Chicago.
So Orlando has potentially 2 picks in the top 11. Is that what you're saying? Not potentially, but they do.
We're going to have 2 picks in top 11. Hopefully I don't see Orlando. If I see Orlando at 6, I'll be sad. If they're not at 6, it means we're at top 4. But yeah, Mother's Day, man, I didn't do a great job this year. I'm not going to lie. My wife was not super pleased with how it went down. I was told basically that it was fine, but it felt like a normal day, which is never a good thing to hear if you're trying to do Mother's Day.
Not at all. I was in the realm of trying to get the gift that would shed happy tears, and I think I won that one. But I see you're stressing because of we're in the top 7 now.
I don't want to see Orlando next.
So don't say anything. Just don't say anything.
Nothing.
Let me read off.
Nothing.
By my stream. I have number 8 going to the Washington Wizards. I have number 7 going to the Indiana Pacers.
The dream's dead, man. The dream is dead. We didn't jump up.
Number 6. Oh!
Wow, Detroit Pistons moved down to 5.
Detroit dropped all the way down to 5.
They were number 1. They had the number 1. They had the worst record.
The top 4 all have the same percentage. They all have 14% chance.
The banner for the draft lottery. That's interesting. So the top 4 are. Let's just see right now. So we have the Portland Trail Blazers, the Houston Rockets, we have the San Antonio Spurs, and the Hornets, the Charlotte Hornets. Who would you rather have the first overall pick out of those 4 teams, just for like a fan perspective as fun?
Houston.
Really?
I'd like to see Houston get back into it. Detroit, San Antonio, Charlotte.
I was saying it would be kind of cool to see Dame have Victor Wembanyama, because everyone loves Dame and his loyalty to the city of Portland and kind of how he's done his thing. If he can get that co-star into the first overall pick,
I see it, but and I think there's a great comment right there. Appreciate you being back here, Tahi. I see. We talked about it with Chet, you betcha, and we talked about it with who's the dude that got injured before him. Chet was last year, and then 2 years ago was somebody else, another tall, skinny, big.
Not sure who you're talking about.
Well, I just know like the tall, skinny builds, man. Like, I just get very nervous about that. Where's your mama? But yeah, in regards to Dame, I think if he can get that secondary player, I think he wins no matter what if he's in the top two. But I don't know who you go with if they get number one, to tell you the truth.
Well, you're gonna take Victor. He's like
He
is projected to be the biggest talent since LeBron James.
I think
Like,
that is such a weird
I
comparison.
mean, it's a weird comparison, but like just as far as generational speaking, he'll go first no matter what. Like Scoot's awesome too. Like Scoot's a great consolation prize. Also a fun potential number one would be the Hornets because the ball Wembanyama pick and roll would be pretty fucking crazy to watch.
I think anybody that LaMelo Ball can throw the pick and roll to is actually pretty good. But that's if they all stay healthy.
I wouldn't want to see San Antonio.
No, that's
because
not
it's
fun.
boring. But you know what's going to happen, right? You know what's going to be San Antonio.
I wouldn't be surprised to give Pop one last run before he leaves. Before he hands it down to Becky Hammond for when she leaves the WNBA.
I have something for you at the end of the show with the
Sure.
closing. I don't know if you saw the Becky Hammond story from the week.
I saw the suspension and the draft pick,
Yeah,
but I didn't hear what happened. Let's just say that.
I like how this is a weird show. We just kind of devolved right into the draft lottery. I thought we had some time to kind of sit into the show before it happens. Do you want to jump into some of the other NBA stuff while we're waiting for the commercials and the top four to be announced, or do you have any more on the what you would hope to see at the top four, or anything else you've seen in the draft?
No, I mean the draft again. 5 years ago, we had to worry about it with the Lakers, but we haven't had to since. So the lottery doesn't matter to me at all. It's for you, but it seems like Orlando's out of the top five.
So bummed out as an Orlando fan. Like our team's good. Like I don't know. You can hate all you want, but that Orlando team, the second half of the season, they have like the 10th or 8th best record in the league. They're very good. Rookie of the year. If we just had one more piece in Orlando, we could be a playoff contending team, like a good playoff team. We'll be fine though. Anywho, yeah, Detroit. If you're a Detroit fan, you're probably pretty bummed out. Your team was god awful this year.
You get nothing.
Worst record, and you just get bounced to 5th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll still find a good, decent G leaguer or a top performer, but like that's not. They're not getting the top three, which again is Miller, Henderson, and Wembanyama.
Yeah, I think that's the order: Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, and then Brandon Miller, and then probably the Thompson kid at 4 is probably the likely way the draft will shake out.
It's going back and forth between Thompson and Whitmore. I don't think
I
they're going to show it right now.
Friends, they play in I forget the name of the league. It's like something elite, and it's as far as like the tier of competition, it is below everything. Like if you want to talk about like good competition for prospects, G League's probably number 1 because they have NBA bodies. College basketball, or maybe G League, Euro League, like maybe some of the really good.
Definitely Europe,
yeah. College basketball, like some of the shittier Europe leagues, and then this elite it's overtime elite is what I'm thinking of, is where the Thompson Twins play.
Gotcha.
That always worries me. Like you're trying to draft a kid and project how he's going to play, and he's playing against scrubs. Like I don't know.
To an extent, and I think that's where the Wembanyama comparisons with LeBron, like LeBron was playing against kids my size in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like he should dominate. But Wembanyama, same thing. Like we did see when he played up against a bully, what happened. But like, I don't want to sound like a hater, man. Like I really don't.
Udoka's at a witness protection program. Do you see him?
No, where was he?
Closet. He's representing.
Oh, he is. He is there. Look at that.
He goes.
He wish he waited a little bit for these coaching jobs to open.
All right, here we go. We got Mark Tatum, Jason Tatum's older sibling, the deputy commissioner, about to open the fourth overall. Houston Rockets. Wow, dude. I have a feeling Portland's going number 1. It's going to be Portland. Dame and Wembanyama for years to come.
You have this draft in front of me because you're looking at your phone.
Portland's number 3. So it's either the Ball Wembanyama matchup, or we're going to see Wembanyama die in San Antonio. Second
coming of Tim Duncan.
Unbelievable, man. That dude is so pumped to it. The guy representing San Antonio. He should be. Damn. So
Charlotte will get Scoot.
Will have Victor Wembanyama. I mean, to be fair, if they want him to be a successful basketball player, having that stability and Coach Pop in San Antonio will do the best for his career.
Yeah, but for how long is Pop going to be there? And what are they gonna surround around him? Absolutely nothing.
I
Like
like
they've gotten rid
Kelvin
of
Johnson over there. I like him.
Kelvin is, but they have absolutely no assets.
I like their power forward, Jeremy Sohan. They have like
Again,
they have two interesting.
no assets. We talked about this a long time ago, like who has the best like fitted team, and I think we both ranked like I think we both ranked the Spurs last when it
Yeah,
came to best spots for Wembanyama to go.
yeah. Well, that was fun for everyone but me as a Orlando Magic fan. 6 overall in like a draft when the top 4 is pretty strong. We get 6. That about sums up the Orlando Magic experience.
It sure is.
All right, let's go from bad news for Steve to bad news for Ja. He's back in the news, baby.
Yeah, man, this is I think I went from like disappointed to pissed. And I said I wasn't gonna get mad about it, but like the more that I see it, the more annoyed I'm starting to get and like aggravated and pissed off. Like he makes this dumb decision in March to, flash the gun, whether it be at
Strip
a strip club, whether it be at your house, whatever it is. Like social media is all around the place. And then we had to hear about like things of him like beating up a 16-year-old or like throwing the ball at his face and flashing a gun there at his home. And then there's like the laser pointer, quote unquote, with OKC, but like it had resemblance of like an actual gun. Like there's just so much stuff going on. And then he's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm a bigger man. Like I'm gonna own up to it. I'll be better. Not even fucking 60 days later, this shit happens. So it's like now everybody that was like, look, we think you can turn around. We think we can change your career, and I think you could be an asset to this league. Are all like, no, you're an idiot. Like you're dumb. And yeah, and like there were people that came out and said it. NBA dumb boy. I think that was
Kwame Brown was the one who
Brown said it. Yeah, Kwame Brown came out. Steven Jackson came off and was just like, yo,
and start
yeah,
clowning.
there's so many people, and it's just like you have $200 million and you are dropping it. We're talking about generational wealth, not just for you, but we see how selfish you are. This is stupid. And I think 25 games, if like, is that what's being thrown out there, or has he been suspended?
He hasn't been suspended. So the team did like an indefinite like suspension. But I mean, how strong is an indefinite suspension in the offseason?
They said the same thing with Draymond, and he was out for a game.
No, I get your sentiment, and for me, like I don't want to rehash the dumbness of what's going on, right? I don't know what else to say about that. For me, like looking from the league office perspective, I think you got to bring down the hammer, and it's more less because of the action, but more because you went light on him the first time, and everyone was kind of like, yo, that's kind of weak, whatever. But we moved on quickly, and he made you look like a damn fool.
Yeah.
And if you want any player in the future to take you seriously and think you got some cojones, you got to bring the hammer. Everyone loves David Stern, or everyone hated David Stern, because he was like the czar, commissioner who brought punishment and disciplinarian actions. And Adam Silver, the players love him because he's the complete opposite. He's a players commissioner. He gets along well. But man, like, you're getting tested, man, and they're trying you, and you're losing the control of like being the commissioner. So for me, I would say this might be harsh. 41 games, half the season. And even if like it's unjust and it doesn't fly, make the NBA PA fight you on it, because like I would make the suspension extremely high, knowing that it'll get cut down in like arbitration and agreements, but like start super high to send a message to the league like, nah, we're done playing games.
I think
right now you have no control.
I think you hit it on the head with start high and let appeals work it down. I'm gonna double it up, and if you're gonna send a message, just like they say in Breaking Bad, no half measures. I'm suspending them for the whole season. The reason
that's absurd, man.
I don't care. Like the reason why I say this is like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, like this is a dumb act. And I'm all look. People got guns. People do whatever they want to off work time. I get it, but if you represent the largest basketball professional league in the world, and they set rules just saying, yo, man, just don't flash your gun on social media. And you're like, all right, cool, whatever. And then you do it and you're like, hey, yo, man, all right, we'll slap you on the wrist. Ja, just please do me a favor. Just don't flash another gun on social media. And then 30 days later, he's like, yeah, you're right. It's like, that's just not fucking listening. That's like, you don't care. What's it? Yeah, his boy tried to save him.
No, I don't think John knew he was on IG Live, and his boy was recorded, and all of a sudden you see the camera just get thrown to the ground. Like Josh,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, dude was just like, yo, and then like all of a sudden he put like, come on, man, like just don't.
That's your boy. He needs to be out of your crew. Like that's. I'm just gonna say that right now. He's got to be done.
I'm not blaming the crew for it, bro. Like I'm blaming Ja. Like this is his responsibility. Like. This is just stupidity. It's annoying because like he's such a gifted talent, and I hate that we take away something. We take away the ability of watching an incredible basketball player because of off-court stuff. And for those that are just like, well, if he has a gun, he should be able to. It's like you don't represent the largest professional sport, like one of the largest professional sports in the world, and do something like that. Because if it's a Zach Collins, guess what? He's kicked out the league. If it's somebody just like they got rid of him, unfortunately, Myers Leonard for dropping, racial slurs on Call of Duty.
He's back, by the way.
Yeah, right. They kicked him out the league damn near. Like they got rid of him. So like you have to be consistent with this shit.
That's not anything.
Same. You're breaking a rule, bro. Like
come on now. We all know in professional sports, if you can contribute to winning, you'll have a job no matter.
No, I get that. I 100% get that. What I'm saying is I hate that we're having this conversation because of how gifted of a talent he is. Like it's annoying that we have to talk about potential year-long, half-year-long, 25-game suspensions for something that's completely avoidable.
Yeah, and like for me, again, like he didn't do nothing illegal, right? And for me, the discipline's not because he had a gun. The discipline's because he made your fucking league office look stupid, and now you got to put the hammer down.
Yes.
That's what it is. You don't want to look weak because, again, if you're not going to discipline him for doing this again and doing this right in your face, then did your discipline really mean anything? No.
He's just going to keep doing it. It's he doesn't care.
It's not a him thing. It's like, why would other players like do anything correctly if they didn't have to?
It's also very true.
That's my point. Stop being a dumbass, Joe. I feel like the second Ja rehashing was much shorter than the first because like we've already said the same, like this, we just repeat the same thing over again if we went over.
Essentially the exact same shit that we talked about 2 months ago.
I'm sure we'll just repeat this episode in a couple more months when he pulls out another tool.
Some random player
over time, by the way. The first one's a little pea shooter. It got a little bigger. I'm expecting the third Ja video. He'll have like a semi-automatic or like a rocket launcher.
AR-15. Yo, I did see something. Did you watch "Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood"?
No, but it sounds amazing.
It's a spinoff for Boys in the Hood and a whole bunch of other older, black originated movies. And it's essentially like, how Scary Movie is a spinoff for like scary movies.
Oh my God.
But so it's the Wayans brothers and Marlon Wayans. There's a spot where like he pulls out a rocket launcher and like they replaced his face with Ja Morant, and it's fucking hilarious.
I love it.
You got to see it, man. It's absolutely hilarious.
So yeah, the next topic, this kind of spawned off of, we saw a bunch of teams go out last round, the second round, right? And some teams that had high expectations. And I was thinking about these teams. So we got the Warriors, 76ers, the Suns, and the Knicks. And some of them are towards the tail end of their run. Some of them are just starting a run. And I wanted to kind of look at like some of these teams and be like, yo, which group of collective of talent are in trouble? Which ones will be okay in the future? So, for example, I'm going to start off like, for me, of those four squads, I really feel like the 76ers are in deep shit right now. And that maybe that's right, reactionary because of the way they went down. But Doc Rivers is gone, right? James Harden is like it's like
he's
the
1 foot out the door already.
It's the least talked about story this season. He played the season without extending the contract, so he could walk away this summer if he wanted to. He seems clearly unhappy there. Let's say James Harden does go and it's just Joel Embiid with Tobias Harris's bust ass making like $40 million. And Joel Embiid seems like a dude to me that wants to win.
Mhm.
And he's been a good dude. He's been Mr. Nice Guy in Philly for
6 years.
6 years now. Why would he stick around after next year if James Harden goes and they get nothing out of it? Like this team, the process could be done. They had 5 years of shit basketball to get to the process. And this might be it, man. They might be done. That's why I think Philly's loss to Boston was so devastating. I know there's other teams that lost last round that probably have similar question marks in the offseason. But man, Philly, if I'm a Philly fan, I'm sweating right now.
Yeah, I watched a breakdown of the Philadelphia picks since starting the process, and it's like terrible.
We'll
It's
go
you got.
it.
I don't have the full breakdown. I know that it's Markelle Fultz no longer there, Ben Simmons no longer there, Joel Embiid. What you have the pick for it? Oh yeah, there you go, Markelle Fultz. Exactly. Like the fact that they started this process, they brought in Jimmy Butler. They let Jimmy Butler go. And we all know the clip. Tobias Harris over me. Like Jimmy walking out as he fucking eliminated them from the playoffs, sent Joel out crying. Like I have them on my bleak as well for futures. I think they're in some serious trouble. And who's to say a lot of these loyal players that I have no problem with you leaving organically after you've given it everything you have and it just doesn't work out versus you're asking to leave. And this would be one of those situations where, I saw a comparison like, is Joel Embiid Hakeem Olajuwon or is he Patrick Ewing? I promise you he doesn't want to be Patrick Ewing, which is one of the best big men of his era, but have nothing to show for it. And if he sticks around, he's not going to have anything to show for it because Philly is done with picks. That process for draft picks, they are not getting back in the lottery for a very long time because of the whole James Harden thing.
Hey, speaking of the Joel thing, before we get too far into the bleakness and the brightness, he got a lot of shit. I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of podcasters, NBA podcasters and media people, especially Stephen A. Smith, just absolutely crushed Joel Embiid for his Game 7 performance. I think he had 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
He might have had something around that. And I watched the game, and I know you say I infect the show with gambling, but I did need Joel Embiid to score 25 points. So I had my eyes glued on Embiid when he touched the ball, trying oh, come on, get some buckets. I will say I know he got crushed after that game. Man, I don't know what you want the man to do. The Celtics pretty much schemed it up where as soon as Embiid gets the ball in the high post, they doubled so fast with Robert Williams. So it was Rob Williams and Al Horford. The man could not get to his spot, right? And so I don't know what you expect him to do, right? He's not a wing player where he can put the ball on the floor and get to the bucket.
Zone. Yep.
It's really hard as a big, especially when the doubles come in so fast. I'm going to put this loss, honestly, more on Doc Rivers and maybe James Harden, where run some pick and rolls, run some unique, smart offense where you can get Joel Embiid the ball lower in the post so we can operate quicker. I just think I understand the numbers. It's an embarrassment for him, those numbers, but I just think to just keep crushing Embiid and not looking at what happened, why he had such bad numbers is kind of I don't know, a poor way to approach it.
One of the reasons why I won't say I get you superstars deserve criticism.
Yeah, that's fair.
MVPs deserve criticism. You can't come up short. He came up short. So anything going towards him for his individual game, it's warranted because of exactly what he accomplished this season. Where I feel as though it needs to be limited because just like you said, it was talked about the least amount this season, James Harden's contract and whatnot. What was talked about was his LCL injury. I'm not saying or blaming anything of his performance. Yeah, I'm not by any means saying he played injured, he shouldn't have played or blah 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 blah. What I mean by it is we sat here and said, "Oh damn, bro, that's a 6-week injury." We literally said it's a 4 to 6 week injury, and a week later he was on the court. Now, if you play and you play poorly, you deserve to get criticized. That's just part of it, unfortunately. But I'm also not going to put everything on his shoulders when somebody that, again, sports are weird. That we say you're supposed to be out for 2 months, but if you come back a week later, everything is perfectly fine. It's no, man, that shit still lingers. I tore my hamstring sophomore year at Dartmouth. If I get up too quick, I still feel that shit. That was 15 years ago. It shit doesn't just go away. But because they're professional athletes and they get out there and they play, it's almost oh no, they're good, they're healed. It's Nah, man, like I bet you there's still some. Again, it's not an excuse, but it's just a little pin drop to put in it.
No, yeah, he deserves criticism because he is the MVP, like you said. But I think there's a lot of blame to go around. Obviously, Doc got fired, so part of the blame goes to him. And James Harden too. Like if you look back at Game 6 where they blew that lead in Game 6, do you know that Joel Embiid took one shot from the 6-minute mark to the end of the game in Game 6? One shot, the MVP. That's coaching, and that's James Harden. Have it like going, I'm going to go win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. For me, it's like if you think he's the MVP and you think he should be carrying this team, give the man the damn ball in the low post. Like design something where he can get the ball where he can just turn and shoot. But they didn't. And luckily for Celtics fans, they didn't. So my second most bleakest future probably of the remaining teams. So we had what? We have Knicks, Warriors, and who am I missing? Phoenix. Gotta be the Warriors. The dynasty is probably coming to an end at this point, and you're like, whoa, what do you mean by that? Well, think of it this way. Draymond Green hasn't been extended. They are at that super duper tax level at this point. Going forward, they put in rules in the new CBA where there's like extreme penalties for going over the tax a certain amount. Those penalties restrict how you can sign free agents and how you can spend your money around. So it's going to be harder going forward for them to acquire free agents. And then secondarily, probably not getting, I mean, they could bring back Draymond, but again, like we've seen Draymond every year get worse and worse and worse. They're going to have to pay Clay soon. So basically, you have one of two options: gut the core, which made you special. So get rid of Draymond, get rid of Clay, and try to finagle something around Steph, which who knows if that'll work, or pay the core and do the same thing next year with the same problems, but even older. So like, it seems like it's going to be hard to see them take a step forward at this point. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, we saw, and Steve Kerr came out and admitted it, which I love when people take accountability for it. He literally said, like, we're not a championship team. So us bringing back this exact same team would make no sense because they're not a championship team this season, right? Like they lost to the Lakers in 6. What I would say is I put them right in the middle. I hate to split, but I put them, it's all based off of the decision on what happens with Draymond. If Draymond stays, I think they have the ability to find pieces by getting rid of the younger talent that did not suffice.
But you have to, where they are at with their salary cap, they have to match salary. So like, great, you can trade away Kuminga, you can trade away Moody, you can trade away whoever else that's young.
Poole is the nugget right now.
Well, here's the thing about Poole, right? At this point, like Poole got played off the floor in this past round. They stopped playing because he was so bad with that contract. Let me ask you this: is he a positive asset or a negative asset?
He's not a Westbrook asset.
He's not Westbrook, but is he a positive asset?
He's something that could get you another player similar to what a Dante DiVincenzo was, which was key for them to extend their playoffs. They didn't win because of him, but like he did the right thing. And if they get rid of a Poole and bring on another player like that, another piece, I think that still keeps the window open.
You have to bring back another piece at the same salary. So like you're going to get back an underperforming player making 35, 40. I don't know what his salary is. I have to look it up in a second, but it's like 35, $40 million. So like you can't trade a Poole for DiVincenzo because a DiVincenzo is making like
much.
8-10 million. So like it becomes very tricky. You're going to get in return a disappointing max player.
I see what you're saying. I still think I don't want to say the window is closed yet until Draymond's decision of returning or not returning has been made. I see it as like if he leaves, the future's bleak. If he stays, I think I'm not saying it's the brightest, but it's at least they just need to turn the light bulb a little bit more on the Christmas tree so it gets a little brighter. That's all.
I'm sure Draymond wants to stay. It depends on what they're
bring him back. Sorry, yeah.
If they haven't gave him an offer yet at this point going into the season, I find it hard to believe that they're getting even an offer unless his values dropped so much that he's just like, screw it, I'll just take whatever and come back.
Yeah.
But there's always the Orlando Magic team. Like there's always that team out there who's willing to overpay just to get somebody there to change the culture. Jordan Poole's he's on a 4-year, $128 million contract for an average of $32 million a year.
Mm.
So I was a little high on the salary, but still, like I said, like you have to trade for a guy who's producing like Jordan Poole that's making $32 million. So it's like a guy who's like it's like the Andrew Wiggins trade for them, which worked out perfectly fine, right? Andrew Wiggins has been awesome for them. He's obviously overpaid for what he does, but for them, he does the perfect thing.
Filled in perfectly.
Right. So
He
like,
replaced Iguodala essentially.
I will say this before we move on is I think the GM of the Golden State Warriors, I don't know if Lacob is the owner or the GM. I think he's the owner. But whoever the GM is for the Golden State Warriors, they don't get enough criticism for their unwillingness to part ways with the young talent earlier. Because if they 2 years ago or a year ago would have traded away Wiseman when his value was high, trade away Kuminga when his value is high, or trade away Moody when their value is high, you could have gotten a really good player back and extended this thing. But instead, they wanted to play the game where we're going to win now, we're going to win later. And now they're in this weird phase where the young guys aren't quite ready, and some of them, and one of them just never was ready in Wiseman. And then the old guys are kind of fizzling out. So, shame on you for ruining the opportunity to like win maybe one more championship in this window.
Yeah, but they still got one. I'm not gonna blame a team for winning a championship less than 360 days ago. Like let's still make sure that we understand that they did win the championship just last year. Had this been the conversation if they lost in the finals to Boston, then that's different. Then it's like, hey man, like we didn't capitalize on the younger talent that we had here while these three are closing in on their, I would say, window for retirement or even just like no longer being on the team.
Who was the team of the four that got bounced last round do you feel the best about their future?
The Suns.
Same.
Yeah,
I thought they were the best.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, and I know that people tweet things that they cryptically want to say is like a way of their emotions. Booker threw out like a message saying 36 is fine, something like that. Just being like, KD and Booker are going to be good. Like they're not going anywhere. Who's to say they don't get rid of a DeAndre Ayton in the offseason and they get, they pick up an actual like third option. Chris Paul is most likely done. And they I don't know their cap situation to fill out their roster, but an offseason to revamp that team, I feel like they'll still be, one of the top teams in the NBA next year.
So the interesting thing about this year is that they made the trade to get KD midseason, which put them in a weird spot where they couldn't, there's always guys later in their career that are willing to take the mid-level and try to get a championship who are still good contributors. Getting KD middle of the season capped their ability to be able to go out and get those type of players. And the Suns were good before KD because they had depth with Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. Obviously, that trade put him in a tough spot. I think going into next year, they're going to have that premium of being like, hey, we got Booker, we got KD, come play with us, we'll win you a ring. The thing that they have to address now is, one, DeAndre Ayton didn't want to be there to begin with, and they essentially matched his offer because he was a restricted free agent. They matched the offer from Detroit, I believe, because they didn't want him to just walk for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He hated the coach. He hated the owner. Coach is gone. Owner's gone. Maybe they can repair that relationship. I think more likely scenario is that they see Ayton and be like, we can get you out and get some assets because he's still 24 years old, still a pretty good player. You can get something back. The tough one, thanks Ty, I appreciate it. This is the sweet jersey. You know what the best jersey is? Is the black with the white pinstripes, and that's where it's at. Anywho, my point was the tougher situation is going to be Chris Paul because the point guard is super old at this point. I was just trying to look up what his remaining contract is. I know he's on contract for at least next year. I think maybe the year after. It's an insane number, something like $45 million. They got to get him off the books, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of takers for Chris Paul. You can get DeAndre Ayton and get something back. Chris Paul, you're going to have to like staple assets to get him out of the door, in my opinion. And there's not going to be a lot of people interested. Maybe like a salary dump team, like even the Thunder are not in a salary dump mood anymore because they're hoping
they got a young future.
Maybe like the Rockets, like a team like that, someone who will just take him off your hands and you can kind of get some cap relief. Yeah, so you move those guys, you clear up some cap space, you get the guys that are veterans that want to just win a championship. You'll be fine going forward around Booker and KD.
Yeah, I think the offseason will help out the team substantially, getting them the ability to sign those league minimum vets, or just move around pieces like NBA teams typically do with the cap in the offseason to try to give them the pieces they need to revamp for next season.
I don't really know what to say about the Knicks. Like I feel like mad about them just because like I don't love their quote unquote star players. Brunson's a baller, but I don't like short. I don't like Shoints. I meant short point guards. So Shoint is short point guard. I don't like short point guards just because defensively it's their liability. I can't really count on Randall. I can't really count on Barrett. It's like you're paying those three guys a bunch of money, and I don't feel great about either of them. But in the same token, like you are the Knicks, they do have a lot of draft assets. And why is that? Why is Windhorst suggesting Giannis might be a Knicks? So like maybe they have a bright future if something breaks their way.
I think that's the reason why I split them also, because with them being the Knicks, they made the playoffs. They made it, just underneath the Eastern Conference Finals. So like, I think Miami took their souls though. Unfortunately, they kind of broke that team. But they made it farther than I would think expectation was. I don't think they were expected to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this season, and I think they did. They outplayed their performance. So I only say they're split because I think Brunson is a piece that they can build around. I think they need to figure out a way to get Randall and Barrett out of there for something to help Brunson. So typically a talented big would help out to help that deficiency for defense, like you were saying.
I like their big though. He's not a great offensive player.
Not offense at all. If you're talking about Mitchell Robinson,
though, I like him as a player.
The thing is he's a tweener. He's too gifted of a defensive player, but not gifted at all as an offensive player. So like he's very, very limited with what he can contribute to a team. And that's in a fast-paced, and we know that Tibbs is going to try to slow it down. That's his offense. But in a fast-paced league, you can't have a five that can't hit a mid-range. Like you gotta give me something besides just put back layups and dunks, or you're considered Rudy Gobert.
So I just want to double check on the Chris Paul thing. It's actually not the worst salary. It's
$30 million a year for the next two.
Yeah, that's terrible. I hope that Ty sticks around and some other Celtics fans stick around and pop in, because I do want to ask the question of Celtics fans later on when we talk about the conference finals about how they feel about the Heat, because I've been shitting on the Heat the entire playoffs. They're in the conference finals and they stole the soul of the Knicks. I'm curious when we get there, we'll talk Celtics Heat. But we do have one more segment before that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is my least well-prepared truth teller segment. I didn't do a ton of research. It just kind of came together on the fly, but we're gonna give it a go. We're gonna give it
here. Let's get it.
Goes.
Big media won't tell you the full story, but we will. It's time to open your third eye and hear the truth. This is the Truth Tellers with Trudeau.
That's right. It is time to enter the truth zone, where we at the Frizz and the Grizz podcast tell you the truth that the lame stream media won't. Well, D, yesterday, or actually today, if you're listening on podcast, it was yesterday, but today, Doc Rivers fired as head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the mainstream media wants you to think it's because they lost this playoff series to the Celtics. That's what the mainstream media wants you to think. I'll tell you the truth. Daryl Morey, president of basketball operations with the Philadelphia 76ers, he took that job and inherited one Doc Rivers. Now, since taking that job, he's brought in some players. Daniel House, P.J. Tucker, and a one, James Harden, the beard. Let me ask you this, D. Why is that? What do all three players have in common? Do you have any guesses?
I'm going to go with they used to play for the Houston Rockets for 500.
Ding, motherfucking ding. All former Houston Rockets players, 2018, 2019, those MVP James Harden years. James Harden last played for the New York, or the Brooklyn Nets, that is. Let me ask you this. Before James Harden got to the Nets, who was hired as an assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets? Don't answer, because that same coach left shortly before James Harden left. So coach comes in, James Harden's like, I want to be there. Coach goes out, James Harden leaves. One Mike D'Antoni. I'm telling you this, Doc Rivers, whether he won or lost this series, whether he won or lost last series, if he made it to the conference or the conference finals and lost, his job was gone, my friend. Daryl Morey, since the moment he took that job, had his sights set on Doc Rivers. And this whole James Harden saga of him being like, I want to leave, I don't know. Open your third eye, man. It's all a play. It's all orchestrated behind the scenes to hire Mike D'Antoni. Bro, the music cut out at the perfect time. That was amazing.
Great job. Great timing on that one. I mean, I think you're good. I think there's a lot of truth behind that. The timing is playing out the right way, and to be dismissed, I think that they're going to use Doc as the scapegoat. But if you think they're going to be able to bring back the fast run and gun offense of the Houston heydays, especially when there was MVP Harden, get D'Antoni back in Philly, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know how it will work out schematically with Embiid. He's kind of a slow, plodding player, but Daryl Morey loves the numbers. He's a numbers guy, offensive efficiency guy, and Mike D'Antoni is the perfect coach for Morey and what he wants to do. He made James Harden 2 times MVP James Harden. They probably want him to be happy and stay because they don't have any other choice, and they want to resurrect his career a little bit. I'm telling you right now, go to Vegas sports books. I don't think it's a betting option. Put it all on Mike D'Antoni. It's going to happen. Give it 5 to 6 weeks. You'll see him as the head coach.
As soon as the NBA finals are over.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that put it on red, right? Black, put all your money on red.
I always
if we get
red,
Black 5 if you can. Yeah, if you get a chance, man, put some money on that. Make that our parlay as soon as it hits. But yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go over the firings, I think the writing was on the wall for Doc. He was out the door if they lost any series in the playoffs, and they just happened to get one game before the conference finals. But I think even if they lost in the conference finals in 7, he would have been fired. If
he won the championship, he would have been good. He would have had the Bud effect because
they would have had to keep him.
Segue to Bud, Coach Budenholzer, but people have a short memory apparently because everyone's like, "Oh my God, he won a championship with the Bucks. How could they fire him? Oh my blah 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 blah." The year he won the championship, he was on the hottest of hot seat because number one, they said he didn't adjust. He was stuck in his ways, and he wasn't getting over the hump. And Giannis, God bless the man with his cybergenetic body, twisted his leg all the way around and came back and won the finals. That wasn't Bud's doing. I think Bud's coasted off of Giannis's performance the past couple of years, and the same Bud showed himself in this playoffs and got fired. And by the way, it's like it's a thing. If you lose to the Heat in this playoffs, you get fired. So
I think Tibbs is okay for some weird reason.
We'll see. Watch out, Missoula. That's all I'm gonna say. You best not slip up. Your ass is gone if you lose.
They literally were 12. I can't even say 12. I would say 6 minutes away in a Jason Tatum absolute crazy ending of Game 6 from them literally blowing up that whole team. If that team went out like that in Game 6 at in Philly, we would have been having a completely different conversation. But I don't think that Missoula. I think he's safe now that they made the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that they'd fire him.
Do all the coach firings so far make sense? So we talked about Coach Bud. I think it makes sense just because of what his what people thought of him before the championship and what he's shown this year. We talked about Doc, and by the way, I think someone created some sort of graphic, and I saw it online, where of the last 7 times Doc was up 3-2 or something, or 3-1, he's blown all of those leads, going back to like his Clippers days and stuff like that. So, dude, I went hard on the Celtics in the past couple games. I knew the Celtics were going to come back and win that after I saw that stat. So we have Doc. Obviously, we talked about why his firing made sense. I do kind of feel bad for Monty Williams and the Suns, because I thought he was a pretty good coach. I think he did a good job with the Suns, but to me, it makes sense only because they brought in a new owner in Ishbia, and this guy seems like, from what I've heard, to be a very hands-on owner. No pun intended with him and Jokic, right? But he seems to be like a very hands-on owner, where he's more of like the Mark Cuban build, where he wants to tinker. He's the one who actually got the KD trade to go through. He met, I don't know if you're familiar with the backstory. He met personally with the owner of the Nets, and they talked about it. He got the trade to go through. Granted, he probably paid a little more than what James Jones would have wanted to pay, but like he's that type of owner where it's like, oh, I want that, I'll make it happen, I don't care. And I don't think that Monty was his guy. He inherited that coach and that roster. So like for me, that's why I think it makes sense. But I think Monty will be fine. Like, he's 2 times coach of the year. He'll get a job in an instant next year.
Yeah, that's the only one that I don't really care for, firing wise. I know that we don't celebrate like non-championships, but like 2 years removed from,
He's a good
was
coach.
it two? Yeah, I think it was 3 seasons removed from the finals appearance with the bubble. I don't no,
It was not Bubbles. I
not
remember
bubble. He was Bucks. He was the
I
one that they won
remember
against the Bucks.
vividly thinking of the Deirdre district. It was like when the Delta coronavirus was like popping. I'm like, yo, y'all gonna die. But yeah, that was 2021 finals.
So 3 years ago, essentially. I just 2 years ago. I don't care for it. I think the for the KD thing to happen mid-season and then he missed like 20 games. Like, you never really gave him a chance to like coach Kevin Durant. And when he did, like, they did pretty decent. Granted, they came up short in the playoffs, but I think that was more for the team that they had as opposed to the player they had. So we'll see what they can replace with him. I don't know if there's a better coach out there that would get more out of the team, because they've been top, 2 or 3 teams in the West for the past 5 years. So I just don't. And with one conference, with one NBA Finals appearance. So that's, if there's one that I'd look at and be like, I don't think that one was warranted, it'd be that one.
Yeah, do you think if the towel boy in Phoenix cleaned the floor better when KD didn't fall over and sprain his ankle, do you think Monty still have a job and they'd be advancing to the next round?
Do you think if KD wore a size 11 instead of a size 14, we would be where we're at right now in the NBA, because he would have eliminated the Bucks?
I know there's so many crazy what ifs. We should have that as like a episode premise one day, is like examine some very close what if scenarios and see how it would have remodeled like kind of like the NBA landscape.
I think there's one, if not the largest what ifs in the history of basketball. And it's, what if Ray Allen doesn't hit that 3 in Miami?
Oh my God.
What is the trickle effect for LeBron James, for the NBA, if he doesn't hit that shot?
Was that the second championship or the first?
Second, because they won the first one against the fucking Thunder in a shortened season.
Such a good team. Like, thinking back of the Russ, Kate. it was prime Russ.
Yeah,
Kate.
but that was the young Thunder.
You remember Prime Ibaka? That was fun. He blocked the shit out of everybody.
Yep. Yeah, I would love to go over not even just we could just make it not a whole episode, but like at least a segment of NBA, NFL, or even whatever what ifs. I like it.
Tell you what, man, once we get into these summer months after the NBA playoffs are over and it's just baseball, I feel like we're gonna be grasping. So
I'm sure as hell ain't gonna be talking about fucking Aaron Judge and his peeking eye to the dugout to see what pitch is coming next. Man, like this, I watched SportsCenter for like 30 seconds today and saw that. And I was like, that's where we're at in sports. Like, we're looking to see where his eyes are going. Just throw the pitch. And if you give up a hit, like, that's on you. Don't put it in a spot where he can hit it.
I need to get like a sounder where you just start rambling on about angrily rambling on about something else that's unrelated. And I'll just play under you just to let you know, like, hey, man.
Sorry. It's part of the game.
I feel like the level of efficiency with this podcast today is Jokic like. Just we're taking shots and making them real fast. And that's a little hint of what's going on in the Nuggets Lakers game. Oh my god, it's so bad right now.
Chill out. It's early. It's
A little
early.
hint of what's going on in that game. So yeah, speaking of the Nuggets and Lakers, our last topic, just a little quick touch up on the conference finals. Obviously, we have the Nuggets Lakers going on right now. I would have said Nuggets in 6 start, but like before this game started, I'm curious, like just before we get into anything, like what do you have as the outcome? I have Nuggets 6, Celtics 6.
I got Lakers 6, Boston 7.
Oh, you're a little more optimistic on the Heat. All right, let's touch on the Boston one because we disagree quite a bit there. We disagree on both. And if you're a Boston fan, I know Ty, you were here earlier. If there's anyone else there, I mean, I'm curious, like, what your take is on this Heat team. I think they're a bunch of frauds. I think they're going to be. I think their runs over here. I think their fraudness is going to show, mostly because they are horrendous in offense. Their cute little defensive antics worked on some of these teams that didn't have an identity offensively, and the Jays are just going to give them a hell of a time. And plus, like the Celtics are deep, man. You know, the Heat have had their run of injuries this offseason or this postseason, excuse me, and they're not particularly deep. I think the biggest factor in the series, I'm saying it right now, Malcolm Brogdon. I feel like Malcolm Brogdon's going to have the series of his life coming off the bench against that Heat second unit. I just can't see the Heat doing this again. And I think the Celtics are much better. I'm being generous saying 6. If you asked anyone before the playoffs, if the Celtics Heat matched up, they would have said Celtics in 5. So I got Celtics in 6. I can't see it going other way.
I just history like repeats itself and it repeats itself and repeats itself. And the Celtics have done the same shit the entire season. This isn't even hating on them, but they play down to the level of their competition. And I think if they do that against this Miami Heat team, it's going to hurt them substantially. They should have blown the doors off of Atlanta. Took them 6.
Yeah.
They should have easily beat Philadelphia. I'm not going to say blow the doors off of them, but they should have ended that series in 5 or 6. It went 7 on a one-legged Embiid and a shell of himself, James Harden. There's a guy that plays for the Miami Heat that I don't care what the series expectations are supposed to be. He has the ability to carry a team, and that's Jimmy Butler. And that
I thought you were going to say Gabe Vincent.
Jimmy Butler mixed with, and hear me out, the coaching ability of Eric Spoelstra. If the Jays do not come out the way that they're supposed to, this is going to be a tough series for them because Jimmy's going to do any and everything to make a living hell for Jason Tatum on offense. And then that means you have to rely on Jaylen Brown.
That's fine. That's how good the Celtics are. They have 2 legit superstars where
they're not going to do what Philadelphia did, which was shut down Tatum and then allow somebody else to do something. That's not how Miami plays.
Okay,
if you take away Jason Tatum, they also have a killer on their team, and that's Jimmy Butler, who he can shut you down for 20 and then go off for 40.
So let me just ask you this: the Miami starting 5 likely going to be Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Those are given, right?
Vincent.
You probably want to have a 3-point shooter in Strus, Gabe Vincent or Kyle Lowry at the point guard. I don't know, like probably Vincent. And then at the 4, it depends what Boston does, but I guess if Boston goes with the 2 big, I'm guessing it's Kevin Love because they want to draw Robert Williams away from the rim. If Boston does not go big and they go smaller, I'm guessing you see
Duncan,
Caleb Martin.
They probably bring out Duncan too.
That's bad. Duncan and Max Strus is a liability and Gabe Vincent defensively. But my point is like, okay, you're going to have Adebayo on Al Horford, right? And Al Horford is going to stretch the floor, so you're going to pull Adebayo out of the paint. You're going to have Jimmy Butler on either Tatum or Brown. Who's covering the other J? Who are you putting on the other J? Max Strus. And if you're pulling Bam Adebayo out of the post, you're going to have success, right? So like I don't see, like, defensively, that's how the Heat have made a living this postseason, being a defensive juggernaut and making all their threes against the Heat.
That was 2 series ago, if you're going over that.
Yeah, but my point is, like, they've been very good defensively last series. They're not going to be shooting threes at 40%. So unless the Heat miraculously find some crazy offense against the Celtics, who have a pretty good defense, I just can't see how this breaks in any other way.
Again, I'm not saying the Heat are going to win the series. I'm taking the Celtics. I'm just taking them in a fight, in a battle to stretch it to 7. I think the way that you play against this team is you solo up, because you're saying there's no secondary defender for Jaylen Brown, essentially the second J. You solo, Jimmy with Tatum, and then you send a double above the perimeter to anybody that gets the ball with Jaylen Brown. Like you get you send a double off of him, make him make the playmaker decision, right? And now you have to rely on Marcus Smart, very inconsistent. Robert Williams, not really a threat offensively unless it's a rebound or a under the hoop, pass. And then Al Horford, who's not been the greatest, obviously, this postseason.
I bet what you see them do is play a lot of zone against the Celtics.
Yes.
Sounds crazy, but if the Celtics go big, they'll probably play a lot of zone. You can kind of shade off of Robert Williams. You can kind of shade off Marcus Smart. And if you're going to let Marcus Smart huck up threes, that's a win for you.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a lot of zone, but then I think the Celtics would counter with Derek White and have more shooting on the floor to try to get him out of that zone. I think the Celtics Heat series will be super interesting from a strategy point of view, because Spo is a tinkerer.
A lot of chess pieces being moved.
Yeah, and it will be a test on Mazzulla as a young coach, but I just think the Celtics talent just too much to overcome. Other series, Lakers. Obviously, you have the Lakers in your heart. That's your squad. I know you wouldn't pick against them. So just sell me on the case of why the Lakers would win. And you said 6. Why do you think the Lakers should win?
So essentially superstar versus superstar. I think if they're going to win, or why they win, it's because Anthony Davis has decent games against Nikola Jokic. Jokic doesn't historically play the best against Anthony Davis. One of them is a little bit better on defense, and then not as good on the opposite side, which is bringing Jokic above the 3-point line. So if Anthony Davis does what he's supposed to, he averages 29, 8, and 2 against Jokic. Jokic averages a lot less, 19, 9, and 5. So the series is split. They've won 10 each, against each other. I just see it as if whoever wins the matchup between Jokic and AD wins the series. And I think, based off of what I'm believing, that AD wins this series for the Lakers. So
I think an interesting element of this series, and I don't know if it's playing out right now. I'm looking at the box score. It's insane. First quarter, Jokic has 12 rebounds. That's insane. But I think one of the biggest differentiators is, can Jokic hit some threes, right? Because I know in the previous 2 matchups, I don't think that AD's had to been necessarily been pulled away from the rim that much. It was JJJ in the first round, which he's not stretching. Well, he actually can hit, but JJJ in the first round, and then last round, who did they have as the big? Was
Looney.
it just?
It was Looney.
Looney and Green, who you don't have to respect.
Yeah.
So Jokic is probably playing less in the post, I'm gonna guess, this series, and playing more towards the top of the key as a distributor. And what's that?
Sorry, he's got 8, 12, and 5 in the first quarter.
Insane, dude. This box score is insane right now. But to my point is, the Lakers have gotten this far not because of Anthony Davis, the scorer. His scoring has been 28, 12, 27, 13. He's been all over the place scoring wise. His defense has been fantastic this entire postseason. He's been defensive player of the year caliber defense this entire postseason. And if Jokic can successfully bring him away from the paint and take away the Lakers' biggest defensive ability, I do think that it changes the math a little bit. And I also just can't pick against Jokic. In this playoffs, you could probably argue he's been the best player. There's a couple guys that have been crazy good, but what Jokic is doing right now is insane. The role players have been really good, and they do have home court advantage.
My bad.
No, I'm saying right now they're up in game 1. Who knows how this ends, because the Lakers have come and cut the lead a little bit. The Lakers have had the advantage in the first 2 playoff series of winning game 1 and kind of being able to control the rest of the series. I don't know, man. If Denver gets off to a good start, wins the first game, second game, it's going to be really tough for this Lakers team.
Uphill battle. But
Yeah.
again, I'm not gonna say Nuggets in 6. I'm not gonna say Nuggets in 7. I never will. So like,
No.
and I'm not gonna say 7 for the Lakers. I think it's gonna be a quick series for one of the teams.
Yeah.
I think whoever gets out to the 2-0 or the 2-1 lead essentially takes it. And I mentioned a couple of series, a couple, excuse me, a couple of episodes ago. The team that has won the paint battle, points in the paint, has won a lot of these playoff games, like 98% of them. Currently right now the Nuggets are leading in the paint. So it's like if they're taking AD away from it, he has a couple of contested shots and he's got a block. So like it's not like he's not doing his job already. But if they're scoring in the paint at will, along with Jokic being able to distribute and pick your poison with what he wants to do offensively, Lakers will struggle. The way that I see it is the reason why I'm taking the Lakers, the AD matchup, LeBron versus whoever he's going to go against. We hope to see the LeBron James of old when it comes to taking over a series, and then hopefully a secondary star such as like an Austin Reeves or Rui steps up in this one.
I will say, like, if the Lakers have a chance, LeBron's going to have to be vintage LeBron for almost every game. Like, he's going to have to get big, be in the post, and bully some of these smaller Nuggets players, because the Nuggets, their Achilles heel is obviously defense. Aaron Gordon's probably going to be the primary defender on LeBron. If he can find some switches and get off Gordon, just go to work. And he should be able to still do some damage against Gordon, but Gordon has the size to match up well against him. And then just the last thing, trying to think, I heard something today actually on one of the gambling shows. As far as like the Lakers' success has been primarily driven by their ability to get to the line. You can admit that as a Lakers fan. The Nuggets actually have given up the least fouls this entire postseason. So they've been very good at playing defense without fouling. So that kind of goes against kind of what the Lakers are hoping to get out of the series. So that could be another advantage for the Nuggets, where the Lakers might not eat at the line as much as they have done in previous series.
Yeah, potentially. Again, I think there's a huge misconception of like the Lakers are just getting calls. No, the Lakers go to the paint.
Yeah.
They're trying to score. They drive down. They run downhill. They're not a fast team, but they score in transition. And when you're a team that's catching, mismatch because LeBron's getting guarded by Dante DiVincenzo on the fast break, like obviously he's gonna foul him, right? Like we see it all the time. So if you get a chance to do that, I think they'll keep themselves within these games, and then we'll see what happens if they keep the Nuggets from shooting and making threes. They're gonna stay in games, and right now they're able to do that. I see it's a 10-point game, and we'll see what happens if they come back in the second half.
Yeah, Mitch. I mean, I will say this: like, I am afraid to like touch anything in that series betting wise, because as much as I said I feel like the Nuggets should take care of business and go to the finals, that this Lakers team is just, they're the little engine that could. Since the deadline, they've just been chugging along. I just don't want to bet against them. It's just
blame you.
I
do not blame you.
All right, let's pop off. I actually clicked something and I can't see what's going on my screen. That's a very smooth way to get to the ending of this show. All right, the closing takes are back. One of my favorite segments, mostly because we get to rage to some Timmy Trumpet, which I've missed in Vegas, which makes me sad. But let's get after it, shall we?
The show is coming to an end. But first, it's time to get to anything we've missed. It's closing time. 1 segment, 2 takes. Now go.
I don't want to ever miss an excuse to bring up the light up gloves. Closing takes, the segment basically we get to touch on things that we have not touched on. We're very basketball centric today. Maybe there's something out of basketball we want to talk about. I will say this: my closing take, I'll go first. It's basketball, but not the basketball you will think of. I want to make it a three-peat. It's a very rare thing to do in sports. The legendary three-peat that Kobe chased after. Three-peat this week. Becky Hammond. We're talking Becky Hammond for 3 straight weeks. Shout out to Becky Hammond, but not a good shout out. So the past 2 weeks we praised the shit out of her for different various things. This week we're going the opposite way. Did you see the story about the Las Vegas Aces and Becky Hammond this week?
I didn't read the full details. I heard that she's getting suspended and they're losing a draft pick, but I didn't read as to find out why.
All right, she's getting suspended for the first 4 games of next year. They lost their 2025 first round pick, and basically they were giving a player shit about wanting to get pregnant and kind of, I don't want to say like coercing, but suggesting that there could be contract implications about getting pregnant and missing the season because they really needed her there. So the whole story's not out, but it basically sounds like they were not about that pregnant life because they needed her on the court.
Damn. Oh, I got nothing. Wow.
Yeah, it's icky.
That is a sticky situation. WNBA is I always thought that was tough. Like they're in the prime of their careers, but also like females, like they probably want to give childbirth while they're young. They don't want to wait till they retire in the 36, 37 years, 37 years old to then have a child. So that is a sticky situation there, man. Like I don't know how the hell they get out of something like that, because if that becomes a thing, I mean, you can't make a rule against that, but like how as an organization you're like, yo man, like I drafted or I signed, I paid for you to be on the court. Oh man, that's I don't want to go down that road at all.
Yeah, and shout out to the people who just joined. Appreciate you guys jumping on the stream. We're getting towards the end. Check us out next Tuesday. We start about 8:15. We want to see you there. We do some really good stuff here. And speaking on the Becky Hammond thing, it's very similar to, you said, you want to get to that point in your life, you want to have a child. Professional female athlete, it's kind of tough. Venus Williams, was it? No, Serena. She pretty much got pregnant, had her child, and she was never the same after that. It's a hell of a toll on a body to create a human. So I'm not like, it's screwed up what they did, and they're trying to like be like, no, you can't have a kid because you're under contract. But yeah, man, it's definitely something we're not used to because we usually follow the men's leagues, and it's just a little wrinkle that we don't think about with the women's professional sports.
Not all the time, at least. So yeah, that is strange. Not strange, but tough to I guess come back from. I'm not going basketball. I'm actually going flip side back to college football, because I think this is hilarious of a story. So I know Greg Paulus was famous for it back in like the early 2000s. The old Duke basketball player that played Duke basketball for 4 years. I think he was alongside JJ Redick. And then like 2 years later, he's like, I'm going to go to Syracuse and use my eligibility to play football. And he was the quarterback for a couple of years. So this story that broke that Stetson Bennett was at Georgia for 7 years and did not graduate. Like, that is incredible. I think that is, if there's a way to play the bachelor life perfectly, that's it right there. Just be big man on campus for one of the largest college football like programs in the world. Like, you get a national championship. You were up there for the Heisman Trophy. You get drafted as like a 30-year-old to the Rams, I think he went to. Like, how much better of a life could that be for any of you old motherfuckers that are graduating or did graduate high school and just like, you know what, I just want to try to attend. I can still throw a ball. Like, just go be big man on campus somewhere, play college football, and then just leave without graduating. Like, we're seeing Stetson Bennett reap the benefits from it. I think this is a hilarious story.
No, when you first started to go into the story, I was like, "Oh, is Darian gonna like torture him being an idiot and not graduate?" And then you eventually got to your point, and I'm actually just more impressed because don't you have to take a certain amount of classes to be a full-time student to stay like eligible for football?
Not if you go to the University of Georgia, man. Come on, give me a break.
You take classes, right? Like,
yeah.
Quotes. You take classes. Like, what was this guy taking for 6 years for classes and then did not get a degree? Was he taking like, you remember UMass Dartmouth did history of rock and roll?
Mm-hmm.
Was he just taking that class over and over again or something?
Basket weaving 101, a la Matt Leinart at USC. No, I think honestly, if I remember correctly, because like I had to do it for my super senior year, I think you need 12 credits to play sports, but
Which
16 credits.
Classes.
I think it's 3 classes.
Okay, they're 4. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's 12 credits to play sports, but sorry, 9 credits to play sports, 12 credits to graduate.
Okay.
So like I needed to play sports my super senior year. So like I took the 4 classes to get it. As soon as the season was over, I'm out. Like I'm good. It's like, Mr. Teacher, just letting you know I am not going to be attending class because like once football season's over in November, I'm not gonna need this anymore. He's like, all right, cool. So like if I was able to do that at UMass Dartmouth, just imagine what these star players that are bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars. So shouts and a tip of the cap to Stetson Bennett. You played it right, man. You played it perfect.
And you know this dude, regardless of what happens, like he doesn't need the degree because in the state of Georgia, right, this dude's gonna have a car dealership or something, and everyone's gonna want to go to Stetson Bennett's car dealership. He's got whatever he does in Georgia. He's a made man for life. I don't think he's paying for a single meal.
Not a meal, not a beer, nothing. Every tab will be on him in Athens. I promise you that.
Sounds like the good life, man.
I did it wrong, man. I did it wrong.
All right, D. This was a fun show. It was a fishing show, like Jokic torching the Lakers, efficient. But hey, get us out of here, man.
As we say when we're wrapping up every time, please y'all hit us up on all the socials. You can hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Definitely follow the show anytime you get a chance. Live Tuesday nights, wrap up on Wednesday mornings for you guys on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, all of those. And as we're leaving, please, y'all take care of y'all mentals. Y'all make sure to take care of y'all physicals. Take care of y'all chicken. Take care of y'all cheering. We love y'all. Peace.
One of these days, I got to ask you what the fuck the chicken is, but not today.
Not today, baby.